Good morning, my lovelies. How is everybody today? So I am pre-recording this. Just so you know, I do this occasionally. I don't know what day this is going to go out, but this is a pre-recorded daily devotional. Usually I do a couple of these every once in a while just to have them in my queue, to have available for if I'm having an off day or I know that I'm going to have somebody at home that day and I'm not going to be able to record. So I sat with the cards and Lamb is what came up. So whatever day today is that's out there, then these are the cards for the day, because I trust the universe to release these exactly when they're meant to. So today's Lamb. Peaceful, prophetic, and patient. The Lamb is the bearer of an important message. Its contents can only be heard when a deep level of quiet has been established. The Lamb energy is the honest guidance you hear from an old friend, a young child, or sometimes a surprising stranger. Though the Lamb's message may channel through another person, the wisdom resonates within you. It will repeat and reverberate until you listen. Approach this gentle creature with utmost patience and reverence. Truth is a gift. Sit still, listen, and receive. When in balance, knowingness, inner peace. When out of balance, quiet, timid, and concerned. To bring into balance, meditation and listening. Oh, I really like that. Nice, quiet energy. Okay, so our card today in the Medicine Heart deck is the Shaman's Mirror. A pause to reflect lengthens that magic moment of liberation potential that occurs between action and reaction. In that moment, there is precious power to halt karma in its tracks. To access such karma clearing potency, slow down, look deeper. The dynamics happening around you are veiled in pathways to better understand the dynamics within you. Be patient, contemplative, to understand what is taking place, what belongs to another and what belongs to you. Only then can you realize what is being asked of you at a spiritual level. There is an empowered inner response to an outer trigger that will bring you peace while stimulating wise action on your part. The mirror is an object with sacred potential laden with deep, complex meaning. The art of deflection is a form of spiritual protection found in multiple folk traditions. The mirror, perhaps the ultimate symbol of deflection, is found its way into both superstition and spiritual practices around the world. From scrying at a dark mirror in divination techniques, to the hanging mirrors to deflect poison arrows or other negative energies in the Chinese art of geomancy known as feng shui, reflective services have been acknowledged as both protectors and portals for thousands of years. The mirror is known as a symbol of the true nature of the mind. It reflects all, yet the reflections do not change it in any way. There is truth, non-interference, and non-judgment. It simply is, and all of life transpires in its purview. Human confusion results when one forgets that the mind is a mirror and begins to identify with the reflections. The mirror is a symbol of unshakable spiritual knowledge, transcending duality in doing so, leading one into direct, immediate experience of one's true nature. Complete spiritual realization is the ultimate form of spiritual protection. Yet, while on the path of such attainment, it is helpful to attend to your needs for psychic self-protection, quickening our progress towards the goal. This oracle speaks of rapid spiritual progress becoming available and the opportunity to resolve karmic holding patterns that previously outweigh your spiritual capabilities. The mirror is also worn by non-shamans for personal protection, from jealousy or ill will, and the oracle speaks of the need to practice practicality on the spiritual path. In the shamanic worldview, the mirror is an eye that sees both the outer and the inner, the interdimensional portal for spiritual journeying, and also the psychic container for spiritual energies. Mirrors are part of the shamanic armor for body, mind, and soul. Protection from hostile intent is afforded through the mirror. Whether the source is from a human, lower vibrational, those. In this sense, the mirror is a mark of shamanic authority rather like the Buddha placing his fingertips on the earth in the moment before his enlightenment, claiming his right to attain spiritual enlightenment. Shamanic mirror practice is typically closed to high-level teaching and is only revealed to initiates. Without this skill, there is the possibility that teachings could be misused and backfired, creating more harm than good. Very sophisticated teaching lineages will have closed or secret teachings. Even the existence of these teachings may not be publicly known. The oracle speaks of an advancement in your soul and as a result, an opening up to new teachings and new understandings. I think one of the things that comes forward when I'm reading about mirrors and the Lamb. So Lamb is peaceful, prophetic, and patient. Lamb is the bearer of an important message. Its contents can only be heard when a deep level of quiet has been established. Lamb energy is the honest guidance you hear from an old friend, a young child, or sometimes a surprising stranger. Though the Lamb's message may channel through another person, the wisdom resonates within you. It will repeat and reverberate until you listen. That's very much like the mirror. So mirror energy is extremely sacred, depending on the traditions. Well, pretty much all traditions have some kind of mirroring type knowledge. I've not run across one that doesn't have that, at least a little bit. There is something to be said about mirroring back, and something that this particular one talks about. I want to go back to pause to reflect, lengthens that magical moment of liberating potential that occurs between action and reaction. In that moment, there is precious power to halt karma in its tracks. Understand what is taking place, what belongs to another, and what belongs to you. I think I talk about this most when I'm talking to empaths who are learning to untangle their emotional connection with others, because I've talked about it before. You have empaths who literally feel everybody's emotions around them. Energy sensitives that feel the energy of things around them. And earth sense, that's an augmentation. It generally augments whatever it is you have. And some people have gifts only through earth sense in some ways. But I talk about empathy a lot in the untangling and the feedback loop that happens with empaths. So if you're an empath and I felt your emotions, you're then going to feel my emotions. And then I'm going to feel that you felt my emotions, and you're going to feel that I felt your emotions. And then I'm going to feel that you felt that I felt your emotions. And then you're going to feel that I felt that you felt my emotions. And there's these layers and layers, and it just gets all tangled up. And one of the things that mirroring does is it helps you reflect back. It helps you protect what belongs to you and what belongs to another. And I've talked about it before, power of mind, right? Like power in how you manage your mindfulness, how you manage what's going on in your perceptions with your gifts. So I'm energy sensitive. I have absolutely no empathy gifts unless they're through earth sense, and they're very specific. They're not human walking, talking emotions. So I don't have that feedback loop that happens, but I do have to be extraordinarily careful with how my energy sensitivity navigates me throughout the world and through my daily life. So I absorb and I am sensitive to all kinds of energies in the world. And it's very important that I learn to not absorb things that don't belong to me. And I'm a highly sensitive person. So if I'm in a large crowd of people, I can become very energized by that without becoming an energy vampire, but just being in that space, because every single person that's in that space has an energy field. And if people are not mindful of what they're doing with their field, they exude energy. And I'm going to pick it up. It just is. So my power of mind in that circumstance is to navigate through controlling the energy in my body and mirroring back things that I don't want, energy that I don't need. I can also take in and transmute. Energy sensitives, when they go into a large crowd, can be very extroverted people. Not every energy empath is an introvert, but energy empaths, or empaths, not energy empaths, empaths can go into that field and they can feel very overwhelmed and very emotionally dysregulated or shut down over time in a crowd, because they're picking up everybody's emotions. And learning how to mirror it out, learning how to shield and mirror out, so that you're not taking in all that stuff and not exhausting your energy reserves through needing to emotionally navigate that at full capacity all of the time. Mirroring is in some ways a very advanced practice. There are shielding exercises that you can learn to do where you mirror it back out. Unfortunately, a lot of times what I see with mirroring back out when people shield is that they thrust it away. And their intention becomes, well, if you're going to share that with me, I'm going to give it back to you times. And that's not removing ego. That's not doing things with a flow and a grace where you don't become entangled in someone else's karma. And I thought it was very interesting how this card brought up that in each circumstance, you have a choice to keep yourself detangled from experiences that you acquire karma in that moment. You can and should often take the time you need in any circumstance to slow it down, honor where you're at, recognize what you're picking up, whatever that energy is, if you're an empath or an energy sensitive or both, because there's that, and learning how to honor the moment and the circumstance and not become entangled. I work with somebody, not daily, but on a fairly daily basis, that is a natural number 6. And she has this amazing energy sensitive capability. Her body is very aware of energy in the space, and she can harness that. And every once in a while, we have what I would probably call fondly like an energetic discombobulation that seems to happen. And her energy gets very convoluted and dissonant. And I find myself inadvertently in that space saying, please breathe. And it's not ever meant to be critical. It is a moment where I'm recognizing the energy is dissonant, and it's reverberating in and around my field in a way that, as though the dissonance is trying to push in. And rather than mirroring it all back, because for her lifetime of experience, her ability to control her energy sensitivity is only through her awareness of how all of the different energy centers work in the body. It's not through mastery of her own gift within that. And we all have these hiccups, so there's no fault or no shame in that statement. But sometimes, because of her natural number 6, if she takes a really good natural number 6 breath through here, and I can't even, there we go. If she does that, the energy is no longer dissonant. The crackle comes out of the moment, and it's no longer buffering in and around my field. And she gains a moment of mindful mastery over the energy in her body and her mind connection to her gifts. And I don't have to mirror back. I don't have to push it. I don't have to mirror it back where it just becomes confusing. Energy sensitives can be very much like empaths in the way that if they encounter somebody who's forcefully mirroring back, there's a difference between passively mirroring and actively mirroring. And active mirroring can feel very ping pong ball-y, and it can feel very dissonant, and not the same kind of dissonant as in just crackle energy. It's dissonant as in my energy is coming back at me with this icky stuff involved, because most people's intentional reverberation does have some kind of ego involved. And empathic mirror, where an empath gets their own emotions back, again, if there's some other person's unconscious intention tangled in it, it can feel very, very confusing for an empath. So when you're mirroring without force, it comes from a place of grace and compassion. It comes through a place of, I'm just acknowledging that there is something there, and I'm not engaging in it in any way, and allowing the natural mirroring to keep me from being entangled. It is a big hiccup when you give over power of your mind, when you give up control of your participation in this life, and you become the reflection of that mirror. So that's what happens a lot of times with empaths. So I felt that they felt something, and then I become the mirrored reflection of that if I were an empath. And then you end up with that feedback loop of continuing entanglement. And energy sensitives can become entangled in the energy reflection of someone else's energy. Somebody's excited, so then they get excited, and you become a reflection of that energy. And it's extraordinarily important as you develop your spiritual muscles, as you develop your mind and your body connection muscles, that you learn not to become entangled and become a reflection of someone else's energy or emotions. You hold on to your own, and you acknowledge. So this is the other piece of mirroring. You acknowledge that it doesn't belong to you. You don't push it back out of fear. You don't push it back out of anxiety. So I used to do a meditation shielding exercise that was a mirroring exercise. And I very rarely teach it anymore unless I know someone isn't going to use it out of fear. Because I had an experience with a student that the reverberation of that exercise in the group of people I was working with was catastrophic for each individual in a slightly different way. And it taught me a big lesson about how mirroring can work negatively when people are caught in fear. And I say it all the time, there's only two emotions in the world, fear and love. Fear can be transmuted into love. You can't make love fear. That doesn't work. It's not a two-way street there. And then ultimately, if fear can be turned into love, then there's only one emotion, and that is love. Love is light. And I don't mean it from a foo-foo, nothing is really bad type metaphysical, not grounded place. I say it from a place of acknowledgement that people do get trapped in fear, and that fear paradigm with mirroring can be very catastrophic to multiple people. So be aware that when you start mirroring the fear around you, when you start mirroring other people's opinions, and don't think it through for yourself, and don't take it in and honor the energy activation in your body, the connection that you have to your higher self. If you don't come from a grounded place with you, you can very easily become a controlled entity having given up your power and your place and your connection in this world. Don't give up your power. Anybody who wants to take your power from you, run away. Don't ever give up your power. If one thing that I can pass on in any of these daily devotions is that, please don't give up your power. You are amazing, beautiful entities, and you matter, and you bring something special. Hold on to that. Blessed be. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.